Try Before We Die, the whiskey review show where we don't know what we're drinking, but we'll tell you what we're thinking. Thanks to everybody who tunes in. Mal.
Do I even know you?
I got asked if I would join like a beard, like one of the beard competitions for charity.
You should.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's there.
And, and to everybody out there who watches, I have seen the growth of this beard. And there are things that I've seen that I didn't think you could do with hair.
It's just the jealousy talking over there.
And I'm not going to lie to you.
I got more here than he's got there.
There is. I've played the downhill spiral of battling loss of hair, graying of hair, from a jet black, freaking full-bodied head to this desperate clinging. I'm
going to push the button and we're going to find out what we're drinking. And we'll review it unplanned, unscripted. But when Mal turned 30, I bought him Grecian formula.
I still have that bottle.
It's a trophy.
It is.
What number you think we got?
I want to see like 150.
150. 111. So, I know exactly what it is. We'll see everybody right behind Malcolm for bottle 111. For bottle 111, if you've seen the show before, we generally end it at 98. Well, we've done a little squeeze and we added one spot, so we actually end at 100 now. 10 across plus 1. Which brings us to this very pale Glen Scotia. This is a Campbeltown, and this is their 10-year-old peated bourbon barrels, and we're coming in at 46% ABV. I feel like will be likely no color added just by the sheer lightness of this spirit. Campbeltown, one of the 6 historic regions of Scotch whiskey production in Scotland, went out of favor for quite some time, and by that I mean there were only 2 operating distilleries, and it is coming back online. Glen Scotia, I believe, has hung in there the whole time. We'll see everybody back at the bar with Malcolm for this 10-year-old Glen Scotia, 10-year-old peated.
Before we die with a bearded man and a British guy.
I know it was right over your shoulder, but did you hear what we pulled?
Yes.
What was it?
Glen Scotia.
Which one?
I don't remember.
A 10-year-old.
Oh, 10-year-old peated edition.
Yes. ABV?
46.
Correct. Right. Region?
Campbeltown.
Yes, very good, Mal. Well, let's get this 10-year-old Glen Scotia opened. Do you know anything about Campbeltown or Glen Scotia, location, anything about the region, style?
One of the oldest regions, I believe, right? Smaller.
Mm-hmm.
On the West Coast.
It's always strange, right? Because we live on the East Coast.
It's on the West Coast.
It is on the West Coast.
About freaking halfway up Scotland.
Or down.
Or down.
Yeah. That was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah. Anything else? Island, peninsula.
Peninsula.
Yes.
That was a gurgle.
Could get a song with this bottle.
You're going to at Christmas.
Now, okay, so we've sort of said this halfway idea on the West Coast, but actually closest to what region besides its own region? And there are probably 2 correct answers here.
I'm going to say Highland.
And that's not one of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So the only one I could throw out there, though, I would probably be like, okay, it has to be Speyside then.
And that's wrong too.
Yes.
Okay, so if Campbeltown is here, Isla is here,
Yeah.
and the Lowlands are here.
Okay.
Yes.
So Speyside Highland right here.
Well, so Speyside is all the way over here, and the Highlands are all the way up here, and then the islands are above.
See, I would have thought that would have come across. All right. Okay.
It's okay. We'll get you a map.
Whatever.
Yep. Not whatever. We're going to get you a map.
Okay.
So Glen Scotia. So I like this idea of one of the older regions. Historically, there were the 6 known regions. For a while, folks really fell back to 4. Highlands, Lowlands, Speyside, and Islay. And the debate carried on about Campbeltown because they dropped down to 2 distilleries. And there is still this idea of, is the islands region really a region due to the incredible variety and distance between some of the areas of production?
Okay.
But I hang my hat on the 6 regions, right? So Campbeltown been around a long time and is having a resurgence. And many folks will say that it is this relationship between Islay and the lowlands that creates the distinctive Campbeltown flavor. So what do we have here? We have an incredibly light spirit.
Yep.
Lowland.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
But we have the peated whiskey, Islay.
Okay, so that actually is of interest, and you can throw that around because I never would have thought of that. Mm-hmm. Not that I would have thought about it anyhow, but now that you put it in perspective, that's sort of like an interesting. This is like a go-between.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Like a mediator.
Like a mediator. Like, hey, we'll talk to you guys, and we'll talk to you guys, and then we're just gonna keep this together, and let's just be. We're the combination of you guys.
Right. And Glen Scotia is pretty widely recognized these days as an incredibly quality pour.
Okay.
I've recently secured some festival Glen Scotias that we came close to today. And you were absent one day, and I think we had one of our crew members, the babysitter Derek, on set, and we opened up a Glen Scotia, and I feel like it was something double. We'll get it in a TBWD fact. But we had a Glen Scotia together. So I think for me, this will actually be my second Glen Scotia actually tasting.
All right.
Right? Can you recall ever having one yourself?
You know, I want to say I have, but I can't. I keep thinking of something that you said, like this is like the cleanest freaking distillery, or is there something about, there was some sort of like fact that these guys were all about. I could easily be confused with the multiple distilleries that we deal with, but I thought there was something you said about Glen Scotia that sort of set it apart from the rest of them.
It
like
would
Taurus
certainly
stills or something.
Well, Glenmorangie has the giraffe stills. It would certainly be a very weird fact to be like, and this distillery is the cleanest.
It was something along like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was probably another distillery, but it was one of the Glens has something about it that you said, oh, this is it.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can find
But
some
no, I
evidence
don't
of that
remember
comment.
another Glen Scotia, but I too many.
Okay. We're fortunate to have had a lot of experiences. We wish that for all of you. As we get ready to move into this experience today, with this peated Glen Scotia, I would, one of the things, Mel, that I think that separates this whiskey review show from a lot of other whiskey review shows, and this isn't a flex, and so please don't experience it that way. This is just a private thing we're doing for fun with friends, right? And so this is just the collection that exists here. So we're not writing to distilleries. They're not sending us sample bottles or full bottles. We're just doing this because we're archiving our own experience. And so this is one of the things that I think sets us aside. We're not reaching out to companies for recognition or anything. This is just something we're doing with bottles we have on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an honest review.
Right. We played professional paintball for a long time, and I was the captain, right? But I would reach out to companies for gear and all this sort of stuff, and inevitably we had to, not always, but a lot of the time, use equipment that we loved.
Oh, no doubt.
Right, but there was times, this is what we have, and so we're going to be happy about it, right? They've provided us with this, right? Nobody's providing us with anything here other than our collective wallets.
Correct.
Yes. All right, this Glen Scotia, this 46% ABV, 10-year-old peated. Let's see what we can learn about this.
Did we take one of these camping with us one time?
No.
Okay.
No. I think it was the Glen Scotia double cask that the babysitter and I tried on camera. All right, so light gold, golden rod, hay. What do you got?
I like the golden color. I like that.
Yep.
Maybe on the lighter side of golden.
Right.
Not quite a white gold, but it's...
Yeah, certainly not a white gold. I agree.
You can pick out the yellows.
Yep.
And what I am now really amazed at...
I'm starting to see a couple of runs.
But it's taken a
Right
while.
here, right? Again, I think that lends itself to that higher EBV. I love that, again, that we're in this 46%. And I'm really excited to nose this, Malcolm, because of the peated quality and yet this incredibly light spirit. You know, part of me wants to think I remember that Glen Scotia might have like only 8 or 10 employees or something along those lines.
So now that you've opened up that line of questioning, I'm going to throw this right at you.
Okay, I'm ready.
You've said it before, and now you've said it one more time, that you're waiting to nose this because of the light color and because it's peated. When you think of peat, what color do you think of?
Oh, brown dirt.
So you think it should be a darker color?
Right, but there's no evidence to support that other than what do we know about peat?
That it's dirt that's
Brown
sat
dirt.
around for
Right,
whatever.
right. You know, what I learned is that a great majority of the peat used in all Scotch whiskies actually comes from the Highland region. And I believe this to be no exception.
So the peat bogs in the Highland supply this peat for the rest of Scotland.
For the majority of the peated Scotch whiskies. And I guess if we think about it from a square footage perspective, Islay, Campbeltown are much smaller regions.
Correct. Highland,
right?
I would say, was the biggest region.
Right, and so they could not, I guess, really supply themselves with this unlimited supply of peat, which takes a long time to recover. Right, so a lot of the peat comes from the Highland region.
Which now makes this even more interesting, is the fact that a region that is known for its own spirits, the Highland region, actually allow other regions to take their peat and use it.
Right, because the Highland region wasn't traditionally a peated whiskey region.
Correct.
They're like, you want to use our dirt?
So you think they would just say,
We'll sell you some dirt.
We're dirt farmers. We'll sell it to you.
But again, we can think about this Irish history and this northern UK history of you had to make do with the natural resource you had.
Yep.
Right, and so peat itself is broken down organic sediment, but twigs as well and whatnot. So it does, when dried, burn. So it is a fuel.
Yep.
Right, because an island, by definition, will have limited resources. So you can't just burn down the entire forest, especially when the king is declaring that's his forest.
Yes.
And those are his stags. All right, so we're in this this light golden color. We've got some slowly developed legs, and we're excited to find this peated nosing in this light spirit, this 10-year-old 46 from Glen Scotia. So familiar. Very Islay-esque.
You say that, esque.
Esque.
I would say it is Islay. Because it smells like Islay.
It's incredibly familiar, right? This peated whiskey.
If I didn't know better, I could easily say, okay, no, I'm going to put this in. I don't know enough. I could easily say this is a Laphroaig.
Right. If these were lined up, if this was a blind, and somebody said there's a Campbeltown, there's an Islay.
And because I know Ardbegg's there, this could be an Ardbeg.
Yeah, no, this is very familiar in the nosing. So what we're saying is, in my mind, we have a light to moderately peated aroma.
Yes.
Right, not heavy.
No. This keeps you in that pleasant side of dealing with Islay.
Right, I would go more in the Ardbeg than the Laphroaig.
Yes.
But now I'm getting something fruity.
You are fruity.
They say the company you keep.
Cheers.
And now I'm picking up that lowland influence.
Yeah, once it starts to dissipate,
Yep.
you sort of lose that Isla-esque.
Yep. So I feel like there's something bourbon-y going on in the background here.
There is a hint of vanilla.
Maybe something vanilla. Yes.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Because now I've lost that entire Isla-esque.
Yes,
I like that. I
it
like
has
that.
completely faded.
Faded. Like I
Yes.
don't even have that anymore. Now I have like this.
Right, right. I've either developed an incredible tolerance to that initial nosing, or it has just floated away.
And I would say, because I think
Now it's very fruity.
the lowlands as a lighter version of Speyside, right? This smells like a Speyside, but it doesn't quite tick all the boxes. So based on knowledge, facts, whatever, I would say, oh, well, this could be a lowland.
Really nice glass here in terms of the way the spirit is sort of hanging and just slowly running back into itself. This is intriguing that it opens up so much like an Isla, and now it's sort of wrapping up so much like a lowland. It is so fruity.
And I like bringing this back up. It's like that wine gum, not a fruit, and not artificial in the sense that it's over, but there's this smell, this familiar smell that you can get.
Yeah. Well, why don't we see what it tastes like, Malcolm?
I would love to do that.
All right. The 10-year-old Glen Scotia, 46% peated. Peated. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I held it in my mouth. Nothing peated whatsoever until I took it back. Entirely fruity and light on the front. The peat developed on the backside, but it maintained this very light version of peat, allowing the fruit to sort of blend into the peat. So it went fruit to peated fruit. Not very spicy at all, and light the whole time.
I'm going to sort of disagree with you there.
Okay, what do you got?
I like that lightness on the front. I like all that description. And maybe I'm overblowing this. But I wasn't expecting what the ending was going to be.
Okay.
And I was like, holy moly, there's a little bit more to this than I gave it. And I can get that peated. I can get that like heat.
Very light though.
And maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion because I was expecting something different going into this lowland. But now I'm like, oh yeah, there's something to this.
My next sip was quick. Still very light and fruity on the front.
Yep.
And light, fruity, and peated on the back.
I actually enjoyed it more when I take it fast.
Yep.
When you hold it there, I find that I'm starting to forget, like, ooh, yeah, there's a little bit more to this.
But now that we're drinking it, this is not an Isla.
No.
Right? This is not a lowland.
No. It's just in between.
This is in between.
In Campbeltown.
This is the middle. This is nice. This is a nice experience of the evidence of a unique region, bringing together qualities of other regions in just enough uniqueness to be, and we stand on our own 2 feet.
Yep.
We're not copying anybody. We've learned some of this, we've learned some of that, and we've brought our own footprint to the party.
And they've also got it to the point where it's almost like an even divide. They've taken from 2 regions and said, hey, we're going to combine it, and we've managed to do it in such a way that you get the best of both worlds.
All right, well, let's see what the back of this bottle says. Our malt master chose peat from northeast Scotland. So northeast Scotland, so this is the west coast. So northeast Scotland actually is beginning to border up near Old Pulteney, Glenmorangie, which are on the northeastern coasts. Okay, anyway. And matured only in first fill bourbon barrels.
Yep.
To reach the subtly smoky and briny character of Glen Scotia 10-year-old peated, a memorable Campbeltown malt. Subtly smoky and maritime. All right, so non-chill filtered statement, but not a color statement, but again, the lightness of this. So maritime, so let's think a little bit about that, because we've already agreed peninsula.
Yep.
Which on a map means?
Surrounded by water.
On?
Both sides. 2 sides. Well, okay, 3 sides.
Okay, all right. Yes, so maritime. Anything briny, anything salty.
I'm having a hard time with that part of it. I don't find the brininess of this.
All right, the brininess will only exist if you focus entirely on the peat.
Okay.
Right, on that campfire, that beach campfire. But the rest of, for me, is that subtle sweetness of that lowland, that fruity, fragrant quality.
And now I'm taking a few more sips. That sweetness is not as subtle as you make it out to be.
No, it's getting sweeter.
Like every time I take it back, it's like a little bit more sweeter. And it's almost like if you had a set of scales and we started off this business and we called this is the peated side and this is the sweet side. For the longest time, it was like this. Mm-hmm. And all I felt was the peat. And this sweetness just led to this. Then it started to just go like this. And now it's more like this, where the sweetness is really robust. And that peatiness is sort of like...
And we're not losing the peat. It's there, but the sweet is developing. That's what you're saying. Yes,
right.
yes. Wow. So
that's an interesting drink.
It is, and it just gives credibility to Campbeltown being able to sort of hang a banner and be like, we are our own region. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I feel like we're getting to the close of this episode, Malcolm. I'm excited to try some more Glen Scotias. I'll have to reflect on the one I've had before, and I would look forward to trying an unpeated version as well to understand a little bit more about their base spirit. I know that we're running a little long in the tooth on this one. Off camera, I am going to go with
the cookie,
the dry cookie, to go with this, to sort of pair up with the this sweetening, slightly smoky drink.
All right.
Well, let's see what the crew has for us on this day.
Very poignant, actually.
It is true.
Go ahead.
Right. May we get what we want. May we get what we need. But may we never get what we deserve.
Cheers.
Cheers. The Glen Scotia 10-year-old, 46% ABV peated. Evidence of a true Campbeltown lying between the lowlands and Islay, bringing together elements, yet when that recipe is put together, creating something unique that stands by itself.
I've enjoyed this the longer we've drank it.
The sweetness is developing and the peated is remaining.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice.